drinking.
Why, hello. Why, hello, and welcome to issue 658 of Geek in the City Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Duran.
I'm one of your other hosts, Bina Rita.
And I am your other host, Cable Hashtani.
How's it going, everybody? Coming to you live from our Guardian Games studios.
Yay!
And in the chat right now, we are joined by one of our good friends, Nat West of Rev Nat's Hard Cider.
I can't high five anyone because I'm in my own little box here.
I can be like, and we are laughing because old school listeners will remember the phrase "train drink," and the moment the show went live, it was a train because we are back at the train. Good times.
I mean, realistically, how many places in Portland can you be where there are not train sounds?
None, really. Yeah.
How good your hearing is, it's what matters.
That's right. But yeah, man, here we are. Going from Guardian Games now, our sponsor. This is super cool, actually. I'm just a little nervous about getting it all correct here. Cable, why don't you let folks know really quick how this all came about while Aaron uploads a streaming link.
Okay. So this came about because I think at this point most people know that Guardian Games changed hands back in April of 2019. And the new owner and new management saw fit to keep sponsoring Portland's longest running podcast.
That's right.
Geek in the City Radio. To like a better level of sponsorship, actually. And have not to throw shade anywhere, but it's just like it's the difference between sponsorship from a mom and pop and something that's a corporation.
Yes.
So, not to say that we've sold out, because we haven't.
No, if we had sold out properly, none of us would have to have regular jobs. We could just do this.
Yes.
That's what selling out means.
I still welcome that level of selling out.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, if Garden wants to cover everything,
Sure.
I'm down.
Oh.
I'm down.
We'll work on it. But through casual conversation with our regional manager, Sarah, we've been looking for a place to do in-person broadcasting again. And it made sense. It's like, look, we have this one conference room left available. We don't rent it anymore. We use it for business meetings all day long. It's used for nothing at nighttime. She's like, oh, totally. Like, you should broadcast from here. That makes sense. That totally makes sense. We're a sponsor. We've been paired together all these years before I got here. So yes, by all means, broadcast from here. So here we are.
Yeah, I'm super jazzed.
Yep.
And this is the first time in here, so we're going to be working out some quirks and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much with the room, mainly with the equipment. And by the equipment, I mean me. We've got a new amp we can play with, but then I overcomplicated it, and then
We've got bugs to work out.
we got bugs to work out and some lighting issues because right now we all look like we're about to be sent into the Phantom Zone for violating the highest rule of the planet Krypton. Guilty.
I was thinking I would just do this the whole time.
I know you get the whole like art. Cable and I look like super villains. Nat's just chilling on his couch.
Yeah. It's got natural light going.
I know, man.
Pretty good.
So, what we're going to talk about today is first, of course, we've got RevNat on because we have an exciting new cider to talk about.
We do.
But more importantly, we have an exciting new Tolkien series to talk about, which is why he's. So, like, he sent me a text like a month or so ago, so he's like, "So, when do you want to have me on? Talk about Rings of Power. When's that going to happen? When are we going to do that?"
So, yes, but not right now. We have other things to talk about first.
Yeah. But first, so over the weekend, Cable, Denise, and myself, we went to Ghosts of Summer PDX. It's basically, a horror festival in the middle of summer at the Portland Convention Center. which I didn't hear anything about it until like I think I had a listener randomly send me a TikTok video of the person putting it on being like, you might be interested in this. And I was like, you would be correct. I am interested in that.
So I think that there are a few things going on. One, the organizers, from what we could tell from the website, are not people who have been involved in horror in the city of Portland or Halloween in the city of Portland before, which is fantastic. I love all the people who've been working haunts for years. I've done it, but I also get to a point where I'm like, can all the old men get out of the way and let new people do stuff? Being one of those old men. So it wasn't so much a horror convention. It was a celebration of Halloween convention because it was focused a lot on vendors that used Halloween as the theme of their products.
That's true. Yeah, totally.
It did have, it was supposed to have a haunt, and it had a couple escape rooms. It had a theater company, which we're going to go into detail more.
Yeah.
But overall, it was just to kind of celebrate the spooky, the cute spooky, less the, like, it's not like the West Coast Haunters convention where you go to figure out what other haunts around the country are doing.
That's almost like a trade show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is more of a, I don't want, this sounds like I'm putting it down, but I'm not. It's Etsy in the convention center.
Yeah, no, yeah. It just felt like a celebration of Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
but it just happened to take place in August.
Yes.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. We ran into some really great vendors. I got Cable now hooked on Hob sauces.
Oh my God.
Their sweet spicy soy.
We had that over teriyaki chicken last night. It was fantastic.
Yeah, no,
It's so good.
yeah, I've been not a commercial for them. Although if you would like to be a sponsor of Hob sauces, you will definitely get a talk up from us for sure.
And it's Hob, not Hab.
I say Hob in front of them, but they've never corrected me.
Does it stand for something?
I have no idea.
HAB, I would imagine it's short for habanero, since that is the key ingredient in
Oh
all
yeah,
their
they use
sauces.
a
Many
lot of
of them.
habanero.
So it's probably Hob
Hob.
sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, because that's also similar to hot sauce, Hob sauce.
Right.
Probably.
It's all lining up.
Denise is correct, is what I'm saying. Denise is correct.
No, I said Hob.
No,
No,
he said
you said Hob?
Yeah.
I was thinking it was Hab.
Oh. I think
Will they
it's
have
because I
another
mispronounced.
another hot sauce later on that's like Pob for like poblano, or like Go for ghost or something?
No, they use a lot
I
of
don't
now it is a commercial. They use a lot of different peppers. Like one of my favorite is their Serrano tequila hot sauce, which is fantastic. So yeah, they use all the peppers.
So,
in
but
fact, one
the
day-
Serrano one is not called Sir.
No,
No.
Hob sauce is the name of the company.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like eventually you two should end up doing something together. Anyway.
That's what I was about to recommend too. It's like,
Right.
You know, I
y'all
like
should
hot sauce.
talk.
I feel like next time I get a chance, I should just always carry around like a bottle of your your ghost pepper tapache, and just be like, "Here, guys, try this," because they make a habanero pineapple hot sauce that's fantastic.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sounds like a hot sauce company after my own heart.
That's right.
Yeah, it really kind of is.
Anyway, they were there.
Yep.
You're
And
welcome.
we all went home.
I've got all the cards of the ones I picked up. So like lovely little bones. I just love those things like artisanal occult items.
Yeah, that's what they were.
Yeah, no, it was really cool.
Oh, that table, she had like beautifully made high-end stuff, like very bespoke, one-off pieces. So that's more art than it is like picking something up that goes with your decor. It's like, no, this is a piece of art that speaks to me.
Right.
I think that was the table that you went, oh, I should have bought the thing when it was there, and I walked away and I didn't.
Yes, I
Yeah.
really wanted one of her pieces.
Yes. No, that's Dark Portlandia.
Oh, that's Darkport.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yes, Dark Portlandia. I'm going to put it in my little. There you go. Dark Portlandia is the one that did stuff with bones, which doesn't narrow it down into Halloween convention.
What was Lovely Little Bones then?
I think that I don't remember. We're awful.
I do. They were witches. Like the two of you went nuts. They had the foot with the feathers.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they
The witch
have.
supplies.
Yep.
They had their own stuff that was similar to Florida water, but like they have a Celtic background, and so I can't remember the name of it now, but it was a similar concept, but from that
I
region,
remember
that
yeah.
culture.
They were intentionally not appropriative of their
Yep.
of their pagan ways. It was like these are the Celtic versions of that. We are not going to call it like they didn't want to use the word smudging.
Right, exactly.
Right? Because that's very specific.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they make like macrame wall hangings with like driftwood and bone woven into them.
Yeah.
They had lots of really gorgeous stuff.
They
Yeah,
had something called the
everything.
witches' rosaries too. That
Mhm.
were kind of awesome.
I either missed those or just can't remember
I think
Yeah.
you missed them.
The two of you love that table.
everything.
I get it. You're both witches. It makes sense. You're witches. I'm a lich. We
Oh, that's
covered
right.
all
Yeah,
of
we
that.
had the
Yeah.
we worked it all out, you guys.
We're all the undead.
Yep.
I don't know what Nat is.
If it has to be undead, a ring
No.
wraith.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, we
Yeah.
walked right into
Okay.
that one.
Yeah, we did.
Never mind. Yeah, we walked right into that one. But the folks we definitely want to talk about, speaking of witches, is was it Witch Hunt?
Witch Hunt Theater.
Witch Hunt Theater.
Yes.
They have also emailed us. I will respond to them. We will get them on.
Super.
So
they do live immersive theater.
they do site-specific live immersive theater. Like they pick a site, they write the play to fit the location that they're at, which is fascinating to me. They did a very short play for us that we were involved in. It was called Corpse. The play on corporation and the word corpse for dead people. And since it was held in a breakout room at a convention center, it felt very much like it was a conference room meeting. They had a large, long table, a slideshow presentation, extra chairs for depending on how big the audience was.
Right.
Like they wanted everyone to fill out the table first and then fill out the rest of the audience seating. I think they had 3 empty seats
In the entire room.
Yeah,
Yeah, they filled it out pretty
and
well.
it was seating for 50.
Yeah, easily.
So
The
it
three
was-
of us naturally went right to the table.
Of course,
They told us
'Cause we
to.
had to be involved.
we did. I still love this little bit. All 3 of us, we're sitting at the table. It says, "Here are contracts. Please go ahead and write your name and sign your name." No need to read through anything as they're continuing to talk about what's going on.
Right.
And without saying a word to each other, like we didn't even share a glance, we just went immediately to the contract and none of us used our real name.
No, never. I
And
don't
then,
care if it was theater. You're not tricking me.
right. And then we were required to say our names aloud and introduce ourselves around the table, still used all fake names.
Yes.
We used the fake names that we put on the paper.
Cable, who were you again?
Connor Kageyama.
I was Frida Kahlo.
And I was Peter Hefe.
So like we saw, immersive theater. It's like everyone is going to be involved. If you're coming in, you're going to be involved. It's like you might regret that phrase.
Yeah.
We've all done immersive theater. We've scared people professionally.
That's true. Yeah.
But it was great. It was so tight. It was only 2 performers. Their dialogue was in stereo at points, so they were like talking past one another and then simultaneously.
Just imagine the most cringy oriented corporate orientation you can imagine, and they were mimicking that.
Mhm.
But with just like precision synchronized lines.
Yep.
But only some of the time. Only certain keywords.
Yep.
There was actually one other cast member
Yes, who was a
Yes.
plant.
who was a plant. Yeah.
Because the whole thing ended with a sacrifice. like one of the things that we got in our performance folder, it was a performance review of interns, was how evil have you been? I got a score of 5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I was perfectly average.
I had a 7 out of 10.
I was a 5.8.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember what you did?
Overachiever.
I gave no less than
Oh, you gave no less than 12 people nightmares.
night terrors.
Yep, night terrors, yeah.
Was it 12? I can't.
I was a high school calculus teacher.
And I had taught 12-year-olds how to roll fat joints.
Yep.
Which I think is a noble profession,
Yep.
actually. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
So they do the red herring of the person who's a 0 rating at the table gets taken out of the room. There's a scream. It's like, oh, he's been killed. No, he hasn't been killed. He's just been reprimanded, but he comes back in carrying a tray of drinks for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The real sacrifice is the person at the table who got a 10 out of 10. Because
you gotta make a good offering.
Yeah. You sacrifice the fat goat, not the frail dying one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was.
I knew we were in for fun when you first walk in. There's clearly a chalice filled with some kind of blood on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
and it's covered in plastic. So my nerd brain went right to Lethal Weapon 2.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Why is there plastic
not
on the
covered in
floor?
plastic?
Mm-hmm.
But it was great. But when it wrapped up, we hung out, we hung behind, and introduced ourselves, and hopefully we will have them on the show soon.
Yep. Taylor Stark is the creative director. I think that was their title. I forget the actor's name that was there.
This would be another one of those moments where the contract, the program.
Yep, that would have been great if I brought that with me.
We're so good at this, you guys.
But yeah, the reason that we want to have them on is they talked about a performative race that they are having in September. It's the 2nd and 3rd weekends in September. Oh, look at that.
I found the program to them. Although I think we just described everything it talked about in that little program.
They did. I
Yeah.
did that all from memory. Look at that.
Woo!
My brain still works. Anyway, they're doing. Did you have their website up? They're doing a death race in September. It is $100 per team, limited number of teams. The instructions are: you put together a team of 4 to 6 people. You pay your money. You email them all the information. And then you wait till them send you instructions.
Yeah. They did say that it starts at 9:00 at night and goes for 2 hours. On their Instagram page, it mentions.
I desperately want to put a team together for this for Geek in the City.
Well, there's 3 of us right here.
There is.
Mhm.
It's a minimum of 4.
So we need at
Total
least
of 6.
one more dedicated player.
This is where I wish Scout Anglin still lived in Oregon, because I would have her on this team in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
She had to move to Texas.
Where the real horror resides.
Yes.
How dare you, Scout?
But yeah, hopefully in a couple weeks we'll be able to have them on, because that'll be super fun to learn more, like what inspired them.
Yep.
What makes them want to do it, and what they have plans for the future. It also just made me, I don't know how you two feel, I have a good idea, but it made me really miss scaring people professionally, even if it's just for a couple of weekends.
Yes, it's much like performing, which I've talked about recently with Ida. There are certain parts that I miss, but there are other parts that I super don't miss. I get a lot of those things are very taxing on the body.
Yes.
And like, because of the situation I've been in recently, I just can't even picture the idea of doing something physically tasking every night on top of my regular job. But the fun and the the togetherness of it, and like the cool, theatrical makeup, and hearing the terrified screams of grown men.
Sweet cries.
There is nothing like listening to people scream in abject terror and have it because of something that you did.
It's a wonderful feeling.
And when they run away sobbing.
It's much like skydiving, where it's hard to explain to other people unless they've done it.
Right.
Like you can tell people about skydiving all you want, but the only time you're ever going to get someone who goes, "Oh yeah, I know what you mean," is someone who else has gone skydiving.
Right. Were we
Is
going to
there
say
a word
that?
for that condition, Cable, of wanting to hear people scream about something you did?
If there is,
Or a diagnosis?
It's probably German.
Right.
Yeah, I just
Shout in horror, something.
it got to a point where I was going to haunts and I would go to haunts by myself and follow groups. Like I'd pace myself so I wouldn't be bunched up with people because I just want to see the scare. I want to see the construction. And I would keep getting too close to other groups because they're too scared and they move slowly. And every time they'd scream or jump, I would laugh. I actually got yelled at by a group. It's like, would you stop laughing? It's scarier than anything. And I'm like,
I can't help it.
Sucks for you.
Yeah, you do have a naturally maniacal laugh.
I do.
Cable.
Yes, you do.
It gets worse when I'm in a haunt. Imagine that being stuck in a tiny, dark room with sensory overload, things jumping out at you, and I'm just behind them going,
I'd be like, do you work here?
yeah.
He just loves the screams.
It's real fun when I do that, and when I've gone to the ones in California where I know no one there.
The people assume you work there?
Yeah. So the first year I went, like I walked through 2 different haunts and got a nod from monsters.
Well, we can tell our own.
Yeah, they like jumping out at people, and then they see me walk in the room, and they're like,
yeah.
And then reset, and I'm like, I don't know anyone here. I know no one in LA. What the fuck was that? I was also the only person in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. Everyone else is wearing horror t-shirts and jeans.
Oh, well, it's like you don't show up to the band wearing the band shirt.
No.
Yeah. You buy the swag while you're there, but you show up. Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
That might have been the tell that, like, yeah, he likes haunts, but he doesn't have to wear the horror swag.
Like that guy. That guy's in on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also had a monster flirt with me. It was really weird.
Was it a sexy monster?
It was a sexy werewolf that jumped out at me, and I'm like, nice. And then they walked back around and sniffed at me and snarled in my ear. I'm like, that's flirting.
That's when you went, nice.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. Moving on.
About Cable.
That's how monsters flirt.
It's true. They sniff.
It's a werewolf. Like that you act. It wasn't a scare thing. It's like you don't jump. I bet you I can fuck with you. Oh, you're one of us. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Because that's how werewolves do.
But yeah, this is the emotions that Witch Hunt Theater evoked. So I really am looking forward to talking to them more.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Me
for
too.
sure. Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that this performance was probably the standout element of the convention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the vendors were great, but they're operating on a different level. There were other kind of interactive booths there, and Witch Hunt was by far the one that was the most impressive.
They had their shit together.
Yeah.
Oh, and they roamed the con floor in character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, making sure that you weren't going to be late to orientation.
The other thing that I think we would be foolish not to mention is via I don't want to necessarily call them out, even though it's not a bad thing what I'm about to say, because there was a vendor there who we know from other shows, we were able to learn that on the back end of the event, things that went really well, like vendors, or at least this vendor had a really, really good experience with the event runners and all of the preparation. And so it's always, in my mind anyway, really nice to hear that the process of putting on the show and like being involved in a convention like this is a good experience
Yeah.
for the individual artists.
Yeah. And all of us had to be involved in putting on events one way or another. I actually find that it's very nice to compliment and say, like, this looks like it was put on very well. Like, it's really smooth. And that's just something you don't recognize until you start to work on these things.
Yeah, we talked logistics with a couple of different vendors
Yeah.
that day. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's really good. Wait, why are you asking these questions?" It's like, we've run conventions. Oh yeah, let's talk shop then.
Right. Yeah, I even mentioned that to one of the higher up staff members at San Diego a couple weeks ago. Again, it was my first time, so I didn't have a whole lot to gauge it on. But the fact that they had like 2 COVID checkpoints, different badge checks, and all that, I said, "Do you know, for as big as this is, as all the different steps you guys all have to do, this seems to be running very smooth." And they had the look of like, "Oh, thank God, someone's noticing," you know.
Oh, baby bird.
Yeah.
It's nice to be recognized for the work that you do.
Oh no, it is totally.
Well, because people only say stuff when shit goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happens with any kind of like reviews and stuff. That's why I almost hate doing negative reviews, because everyone does them, because they're easy. Sometimes they're fun, you know, but that's demoralizing when that's all you get is the negative stuff.
Yeah.
Especially any customer service facing, like it just never fails, you know, so. Well, yeah, that was fun. Should we move on to some other nerd stuff?
Yeah, I think we should also say that if anyone involved in Ghosts of Halloween is listening.
Ghosts of Summer.
Ghosts of Summer. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That was cool. Okay. We want to talk to you.
Yeah.
We would like to set up an interview with those folks as well and kind of talk about what was the impetus to putting this together, and if they had a good enough experience that they're going to bring it back next year. So
yeah, definitely. And those who know this show realize that it's almost the middle of August, which means we're in full horror mode. Like we're kicking off. Like that's kind of what. What we do.
Yeah, no.
And we don't stop until like the beginning of January, because the second biggest ghost holiday is Christmas. So. So yeah, we're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a good spot to take a quick break and then come back with Nat. We're going to talk about some Rings of Power and the new Cider. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back. The magic of live. It only happens when we do. Ta-da!
That joke kills me every time.
I know. I mean, one day we might actually have a live ad to play, but who knows? That was a really big breath, Nat. You were like, oh, unpleasant. Well, speaking of that, should we try the new cider first, and then
were you able to sneak some new cider into the dungeon in Guardian Games?
We didn't sneak it at all.
We didn't sneak it at all, as I am still technically an employee of you who does at times go to bars to get samples. I am pouring here as a representative and sharing samples with a potential client.
You are on payroll.
That's right.
Yep. Guardian Games does everything to comply with OLCC guidelines.
Yes. So that would mean 6-ounce samples.
Mm-hmm.
And not an ounce more. And I will be measuring these via my handy measuring device in virtual cyberspace here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'll make sure of that. Yes, I'll be right back.
We're gonna vamp while he's pouring things.
Wasn't ready to vamp today.
Vamp.
I'll talk about the cider actually briefly. It was a really fun project that Aaron and I did. I guess he and I did the 400 Rabbits Tepache blend last fall. Came out, I think, at the beginning of the year. I can't really remember. And I want to do another one because 400 was so different than anything I've made. And I think that I sometimes get like, making cider is a bit like cooking for me. You get in a bit of a rut, and it's a good rut. You're happy. The food that you make is good and it's tasty, and it's where to find it in the grocery store without too much hassle. And but then there's always like those moments of you eating someone else's food, even if they make the same dish that you make,
Mhm.
same recipe and everything, it's just going to taste different. So I just had a lot of fun making 400 rabbits with Aaron, and I was like, hey, let's do another one. And
It
we
was also
created this
really good
totally,
cider.
yeah, we created this totally wacky drink that is unlike anything I would have made by myself. And I think that's really the most fun about it, is that it's a whole new thing that really reeks of Aaron Duran in a lot of ways.
Boy, doesn't it?
That's what I hear
It
before I
reeks,
say
yes.
something.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything you said, so I have no idea what we were talking about, other than
I
was
gave
bored.
the I gave that punchline there at the end just for you.
Yep.
So yeah, so Lokita Fresca, it's available now for home deliveries in Portland, and we'll get it on my shop site so that folks in other states can buy it and have it mailed to them.
Oh, cool.
But tell us about why we called it Lokita Fresca, Aaron.
So it is called Lokita Fresca because, first off, it's inspired by like the Mexican fruit cups you can buy, where they put in different fruits and cucumbers, and then they'll squeeze like sometimes some lime or the tagine sauce all over it, and it's just this great refreshing mix of like very sweet, cool fruits with a little bit of spice, a little bit of heat, that nice citrus on there.
Mm-hmm.
It is called Lokita Fresca because Lokita is the name of Altelia's Alhambra in Season of the Bruja. So yeah, it's named after her. So we actually owe a lot of this to Sarah, the artist on Season of the Bruja, because in the original script, Althelia just had a cat that was just literally in the background. And those who are reading the book know that Lokita has a much, much bigger role than just a cat would in a story. So really, a lot of this we owe it to Sarah for having this drink. So yeah, that's the inspiration behind this one.
Yeah. So the ingredients, it starts with the pache, and then we added 2 different kinds of lime. We used this dehydrated lime, this crystallized lime powder, which was crazy. First time ever using that ingredient. It produces a really unique lime flavor that we thought kind of checked the box of that Fresca type flavor.
Yeah.
And then we used sucanat. It's quite sweet, actually. Sucanat is this really raw, unrefined sugar. And then some orange, watermelon, and another kind of lime essence, like extracts of those fruits. So, and then extra pineapple juice.
And then more pineapple juice.
Yeah. Can't run out of pineapple. And then heat, of course, chili.
Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty red. Yeah.
It's really good. I'm super biased, but you should have seen when Nat and I were designing the flavors. There was a lot of just going back and forth and adding different fruits and stuff.
It took a long time.
I felt like this one we dialed in pretty quickly compared to 400.
Yeah, there is a rule, I think, in blending where I call it the Andrew Tice rule, where Andrew is the head distiller at House Spirits here in Portland, and he has this rule that if you're ever taking a few components, A, B, C, D, or whatever, and you're trying to determine the ratios between them, it always works out to have understandable, human readable ratios. So like 1 part, 1 part, 1 part, 1 part, or 1 part, 1 part, 2 parts, 2 parts. You don't want to have something like 7 parts, 13 parts, 4.3 parts, 8 parts. Like, it's never going to taste better if you get really complicated with the blending. So this cider, in a lot of ways, is like, I think the numbers were like, we had 1 part, then we had a 10th part, and then we had a quarter. So it was really simple math to scale up. And I think, Aaron, we got down this path of these ratios, and then all we ended up doing is just turning up the flavor again and ratcheting it up higher and higher every time, but keeping the ratios about the same.
Yeah. I think we kept doing that by upping the lime. The lime was always the thing that boosted the flavor.
Yeah.
So
And
we
then I
get
think
the
it
lime.
was at like, yeah, it was at like 7 parts lime. It was like 8 parts lime. Then I was like, fuck it, we're going to 10 parts lime because that's a good number. And it was totally there. Yeah.
And it's also, I would say, it's probably your sweetest cider you've ever made.
I think so.
But it doesn't. It's still not as sweet as like some like Angry Orchard shit.
Yeah, it's just got a ton of real fruit in there. So, and that raw unrefined sucanat sugar is a really fun sugar to drink, basically.
You could have put more on it.
I mean,
yeah.
But we're not normal people, B. It is rare to find any brown person to think like this is enough lime.
I've never felt that this is enough lime.
Yeah, what do you think about the chili? That was another question of we can always add more, but you know.
I personally would want it to be more also.
That's the conversation actually Matt and I had. He's like, what do you think? And I said, personally, I would like more heat, but also the frutas are not, those cups are never super spicy. It's more of that smoky and a little bit of heat.
Right. Yeah. That chili powder that you put on there is not really hot. It's more of
it's a flavor.
It's more of a savory flavor to offset or play against the sweet.
Yeah. It is not tagine, as we are not legally allowed to use that word. Oh.
It does say tagine on the side. Welcome.
I forgot.
I welcome a cease and desist from the tagine lawyers. They know how to find me, for sure.
Well, you can be like next level. You can be like next level beer the moment like Nintendo finds out that beer is already sold out anyway, and they won't make it again.
Exactly, it's going to be sold out by the time I get that letter in the mail. So that's fine. Yeah, and so we only made I say only. I think we made like 180 cases or something like that, which is really small for us. And there you go. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Pretty. Gotta get it while getting's good.
Yeah. So it's available now on your site, right?
Yes.
But next week, can we talk about that now, or do you want to wait?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Mm-hmm.
All right. So for folks who have somewhere been living under a rock, I have a comic called Season of the Bruja. And tomorrow, or today, if you're listening to this on the podcast, on Wednesday, August 10th, is the 5th and final issue of Volume 1 of Season of the Bruja. And it has been one hell of a journey, thank you, to get here. Norm. So when issue 1 first came out, I had teamed up with Nat and we did the 400 Rabbits. And there was the package and you got a signed copy of Season of Bruja issue 1 and a 4-pack of 400 Rabbits. And everyone loved it. But we wanted to do something. Well, Nat was like, let's do something else again together, man. Because it's actually a lot of fun collaborating with Nat. Have a good time.
Shocked at this.
So we were talking about doing this next collaboration and to put together a special package. So next week, only on Nat's on the shop.revnat.com when it gets up and running, and he'll put out the email or whatever. He will have all 5 issues of Season of the Bruja, issues 1 through 5. In fact, I think his issue 1 is going to be the variant cover.
Ooh.
That I will be hooking him up with. So even people who bought this the first time, you didn't get the variant cover. Aha! So issues 1 through 5 is Season of Bruja with issue 1 variant cover, along with a 4-pack of Tepache.
Yes.
4-pack of 400 Rabbits.
And I have very few 400 Rabbits left. I saved them just for this setup.
Yeah. And then a 4-pack of Loquita Fresca will all be part of, I believe, what you're calling the Ultimate Aaron Duran package, which is weird.
It's called the Ultimate Aaron Duran Collaboration Pack. Yeah.
Yeah. I am super excited with that. And are we still doing the charity thing? I gotta remember.
Yeah, and we're giving $20 out of every pack that we sell. 20%. I'm sorry, of every pack that we sell to Portland's Latino Network, which is a local group, and they do a lot of resource connection for what's happening in the community to Latinos who are looking for whether it's domestic support or business support or whatever. It's a great network.
Yeah, so I'm really excited that we get to do part of that with it also. That'll be next Wednesday, right?
Well, yeah, we ordered our comics, and our comics will show up when they show up. And there are very, very few of the ultimate collaboration packs available. I wouldn't be ultimate if there was an endless supply. So
That's right. We don't want to pull like the
jump
Death
on
of
it.
Superman bullshit here. It is limited.
Yeah, no, it is limited.
So then that means that probably your best chance for getting one of these is to be signed up for the Reverend Nat's newsletter.
Yes, or to know someone like you do, Bean. So yeah. Yeah, if you've ever bought anything from us in the past, you're in the newsletter. We also post our social media, and social media does not include Facebook because fuck Facebook. So
Especially right
social
now.
media is, I just don't have anything to do with them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because it's not. There aren't many of them, right? Of the collaboration packs.
There are barely double digits.
Yeah. So that's how quickly you're going to want to jump on that one.
Yep.
And it's always a good idea. I get the newsletter and I read mine this morning or early this afternoon, whenever it was, and that is how I already have my order in for 2 packs of Lokita Fresca.
Woo! Nice.
Somebody did actually order 2 cases when that newsletter went out as well. I was like,
holy shit, really?
Yeah.
Good for
They were
that.
like in the comments, it said 400 Rabbits was the best cider you've ever made. I hope this one. And I'm like, whoa, it's different. You know,
They are different.
they are different.
But I would say that they would complement each other well.
Yes.
I agree. Yeah, 400
They
I
are
think
different.
it's less rich. It's the magic of 400 is that it's super low alcohol, 2.9 or something, and it's got a massive amount of flavor. But this one is like Lokita is I think sweeter, more full mouthfeel, much richer. Kind of feels like you're chewing on something at times, but also low ABV. I think it says 3 point something.
3.9. Yeah.
Yeah. I love these low alc things. I would say I love them in the summertime, but I love them all the time anyway. So
I think one of my favorite things about 100 Rabbits is how many different meals it complements.
Yeah.
That aren't just, it goes great with tacos. Of course it goes great with tacos.
Yeah.
It also goes great with teriyaki chicken. It goes great with curry. Like, it's everything.
It goes, so I've noticed 400 Rabbits goes great with anything that is kind of an earthy, so like a good curry or a barbecue or like any kind of dark meat taco. 400 Rabbits goes well with. Lokita Fresca goes really well when it's goddamn 95 degrees outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
it pairs well with ice.
Yeah. It just feels like the summer drink. And even though we're kind of on the tail end of summer, it's still great.
That's the hottest part.
That's the hottest part. One thing Nat and I did realize, which goes against almost everything you drink, Lokita Fresca's flavor is better when it's cold than when it starts to warm up.
Yeah.
Because most flavors come out when they warm up a little bit. This one doesn't.
Yeah.
So keep it cold.
It gets a little sort of muddy tasting when it warms up a little bit. So
it probably feels more syrupy.
Yeah. It might just hit your tongue more and like just stick there. It's pretty amazing, pretty weird the way that it worked. I was drinking some off the line as it was hanging out, and I was like, I'm kind of disappointed in this. And then I drank the same one after it had been in the refrigerator, and it was right back to its delicious state. So,
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you can have more than one or two because again, it's only 3.9, so it's less than a Rainier. That's how I gauge all alcoholic contents. It is anything that's equal to or less than a Rainier is barely alcohol, and then above that, you have to start being careful.
Yeah, Aaron, what do you think about some blending with this one, like some rum, maybe?
I mean, it's got pineapple, so it's going to be good with rum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like always. Or I think like a smoky tequila, it would be really well. It would do really well with. So, yeah, I try to make a traditional margarita out of it, or just a tequila, or your basic tequila sunrise, but use this instead of orange juice. something like that.
Orange juice, grenadine.
Yeah, I don't know. Although also I would start to get weird and I would do weird stuff with it. Like how would it taste if you were to make make almost like a, tequila sunrise with it, but then float like a melon liqueur on top.
For that matter, mixing it with beer would be really good with the aforementioned Rainier.
Like a Radler?
Really
or
good.
Tapache. I want to put more heat on this.
Do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, and they make different vodkas. Do you think they have like a jalapeno vodka?
New Deal. I'm pretty sure it does. They call it the monkey something. Hot monkey.
Hot monkey. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or if you wanted to keep it low ABV, maybe just give it an infusion with some peppers in the fridge overnight.
That could be good.
And then strain it off.
Or, as Matt said, just go the michelada route. Have it with some beer, and then just hit it with some tapatio.
Yeah. Or get that Hobbs sauce that you got, and
shit! No, they're habanero pineapple.
Right there.
You know what? I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to tag everybody.
Yeah.
By the way, they have one of the coolest logos too.
Ooh. That's
All right,
dangerous.
So let's wrap this.
And the cool thing about them, really quick, is they only hire local artists for all of their bottle labels.
Yep.
So
they're gorgeous.
Cool. Oh man, yeah, I need to reach out to them.
Oh, Norm is asking in the chat: would this cider be good for doing a glaze on some barbecue, or maybe some shaved pork?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. It is very sweet. So if you're obviously sugars burn on barbecues. But yeah, if towards the end of the cooking, if you cook this stuff down a little bit, I do that with tepache regularly. I will cook down. I have access to a lot of tepache, so I can cook down tepache to make it a little bit more thick, and this would be fantastic that way.
That does sound good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to go home.
I would go more chicken than pork on this one, though.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would.
We'll
have to compare notes.
Oh, what a shame! I guess we got to do a pulled pork, a brisket, and some chicken thighs. I mean, I guess
a Hawaiian plate.
That's right. Let's do a Mexican Hawaiian plate.
Yeah, meat and three meats and three others. Yeah.
The things we do for science.
The things we do for Norm.
That's right. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I don't think I've actually said this to Nat, so I'm going to say it here. So a few years ago, I'm going to do more sampling here really quick to make sure that it's right. So a few years ago, I had actually toyed with the idea of doing, getting a little bit into actual brewing, not just beyond home brewing and stuff. Sure. And Nat tried my stuff and said, "Aaron, you're really good. Don't get into brewing."
Yeah, I keep telling you that. Yeah.
And I am. I'm keeping it to the home brewing. But one of the things I always wanted to do was well, you know what? Maybe I would just be happy if I would just get to do collaborations with friends and brewers whose product I really respect and like and all that stuff. So Nat, whether you knew it or not, you actually helped fulfill one of my life goals was to do collaboration brewing with awesome people. So thank you for that.
Good. Well, I hope this is just the beginning, and you have many more collaborations in you with me and other folks.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be good, and it scratches that itch. But let somebody else foot the bill. Sorry.
Is that all I am to you?
No, you're also the cool Lord of the Rings guy.
Mm-hmm.
I am. Mm-hmm.
That's a good segue.
That's an excellent segue.
So there's this thing from this little book company you might have heard of called Amazon.
They sell books.
They sell books.
Yeah, the bookstore.
The book people.
Yeah.
And they're doing something with this quirky little fantasy you may have heard of, written by this Englishman about 100 years ago, about little short people and volcanoes.
Yeah, and tall people. And
is it about
dragons.
throwing them into volcanoes?
That's right.
Yes, it's a dwarf throwing contest. Yeah.
Oh,
That's already frowned upon.
oh my God, you're gonna get us canceled. But no, so Rings of Power comes out
Yes, couple weeks, September 2nd.
like you don't know the date when Rings of Power is coming out.
We have a calendar over there that's tear off date. My kid made it tear off.
Really? Is your kid really into
September 2nd,
Tolkien also?
Yeah. We read. We watched Lord. I have an 18. They're 18-year-old. They are 18 years old right now, and at 3.5, we watched Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, and I remember very clearly. Bless their little heart, they were like, "Those are just the whole time. Those are just people in costumes, or the Uruk-hai and the orcs and stuff. Those are just people in costumes, right? They just have masks on, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, they're just people." And we watch it. We watch the whole series at least once a year, and I've read the whole books, the whole series to them probably 5 times. And I got a really nice. They turned 18. Didn't get them a car. I got them a really nice copy of Lord of the Rings. Yeah, we're big nerds. Yeah.
Very precious.
Yeah, so Rings of Power is so if you're familiar with most people, everybody, I think probably these days is anybody listening to this show is familiar with Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings. That is set in what is known as the Third Age, and the War of the Ring, of which the Lord of the Rings sort of documents, is the most thoroughly documented part in the Tolkien legendarium. So Tolkien wrote, he wrote basically the history of Middle Earth over the course of thousands of years. 5,000. Oh, there are times that are written about that don't really have a good time scale, so it's quite difficult to figure out what the total length of time the whole thing is written about. And then as he was writing, he basically selected 5 or so major stories to go into more detail during the history of Middle Earth. And the War of the Ring, of which Bilbo and Frodo and Sam and Gandalf and stuff, is the one that he spent the most time on and developed into a full book. And if the guy had lived to be 500 years old, we probably would have Lord of the Rings style books of a number of other stories. And after he died, his son Christopher has put together kind of nerd versions. You got to be a really nerd to read some of the new stories that have come out, such as the Children of Húrin and the Fall of Gondolin and Beren and Luthien. All fantastic stories, but they weren't really fully developed, and there's not a great narrative structure in those books. It's more a collection of notes in.
Yeah, they're more like extended notes than they are actual stories.
Yeah, and so all that content is basically, I'm glossing here, is basically summarized in a book called The Silmarillion. And The Silmarillion is the history of Middle Earth, and it doesn't touch on the War of the Ring, because the Lord of the Rings book is good for that. But there are these 4 essentially ages of the world. First age is not really. It's hard to make a movie and hard to tell stories about it because it's just like angelic beings singing. That's kind of what the first age. There's other things that are happening too. But the second age is where it gets sort of more you can put your hands on. There's like named characters in a lot of ways. First age has a lot of named characters too, don't get me wrong. But the second age is where we start to see glimpses of the third age, would make sense. So all the casual listeners are very familiar with the events of the Third Age, the War of the Ring, and the Second Age is where characters like Sauron start to show up, and where the rings show up, and the One Ring shows up in the Second Age. So in a lot of ways, what Amazon is producing is a prelude to the more familiar Lord of the Rings, War of the Ring. So it has some tie-ins. There will be Elrond. You may remember Elrond. He appears in the Amazon show amongst others as well.
Yeah, so does Galadriel. It looks like Galadriel actually has a much bigger role.
Well, yes, Galadriel has a massive role in the actual source material. She is the oldest and the most powerful elf in Middle Earth in the Third Age. She was present at many of the most important events that happened in the First and Second Age. Her grandfather, I'm pretty sure, was one of the first elves, one of the three first elves to get scratched out of the ground. The elves like came out of the ground or some crazy shit. And so like her grandfather, maybe her great grandfather, was like one of the first elves, like first three elves. So she's like super powerful, super knowledgeable, et cetera, et cetera. So I think she's finally getting her due. So you're right, Aaron. She has a bigger role than she did in the Peter Jackson series, but I think it's a very appropriate role that that she's playing in this series.
I mean, which is good. I mean, that's always been kind of one of the critiques, especially of the Lord of the Rings books or the movies, is that women don't have a whole lot to do.
Yeah, books too. Yeah, no, Tolkien was very famous to have. He famously had a few really badass female characters. He didn't really have a female character unless they were super badass, and that itself is a form of certainly a form of misogyny. So it's cool that the current creators of the Amazon series looked at that and said, "Oh yeah, we can simultaneously be faithful to the books and to Tolkien's vision, and also elevate non-dudes
Which is good
into the screen." Yeah,
especially in fantasy.
and I think on that topic, there's a lot of non-white people in the Amazon series, which of course has the dark corners of the internet freaking out. But if you really read the books with any kind of a critical eye, Tolkien describes very famous characters like Samwise Gamgee as having a brown hand, and Aragorn has brown skin. It is not, if anything, Peter Jackson whiteified some of Tolkien's works. There's definitely there's a brown elf in Amazon, the Amazon series, and people are upset about that. That there's no reason why the elves that stayed behind in Middle Earth and never went to Valinor had thousands of years of living in what Tolkien basically described as North Africa. So there's no reason why we couldn't have non-pasty white elves in the in that world. He also describes dark dwarves, petty dwarves as well. So there's a very famous one of the famous actors in the new Amazon series is a black woman, and she's doing a fantastic job as a dwarf, black dwarf. Just a dwarf, but she just happens to have non-white skin, so it's pretty cool.
You think it's just everyone just assumed white because it was Tolkien and he's very English and very pasty, and then every time it ever got adapted or there was art, people just defaulted to whiteness, and therefore that became the perceived norm.
Yeah, and those creators were themselves whites. They just reflected it on themselves. The only thing there are certain elven characters who he describes as very white. Galadriel has long blonde hair, long golden hair, and the Rohirrim, the Riders of Rohan, are very clearly described as like basically just ripoffs of Norsemen, Scandinavians. So we're going to go ahead and call those folks canonically white, but there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of different skin tones for sure, which I'm really excited about.
Cool. So like you gave us some questions, which is pretty cool because people like hit you up and stuff when you were going to be on here.
Yeah.
So this seems kind of like a dumb question almost, but like, is Sauron going to be like the ongoing big baddie of the Second Age, or is it essentially is he like the power that's? I mean, he's kind of pulling like a Darth Sidious in the Second Age, right? A whole
it's
right.
Yes.
I mean, isn't that what he's doing?
Yeah.
There's.
It's not like he's like, aha, I'm the Dark Lord.
Yeah, no, he goes back and forth, and in his, Sauron is called Sauron the Deceiver, and one of his main routes to power is through deceit, and one of his main things is he clothes himself in a different body, the body of a dude named Anatar, and Anatar is like the good Sauron, but he's still purely evil on the inside. The First Age, the ending of the First Age, is when Sauron's boss is chained up beyond the universe, basically, like in black hole land or something. Melkor, Morgoth. He's got 2 different names. Tolkien loves throwing lots of names onto the same character. So Sauron, at the beginning of the Second Age, Sauron is kind of like hiding. All of Morgoth's baddies, including the Balrogs, are like hiding because their boss just got his ass kicked.
Right.
And then Sauron makes a little foray. He's like, "Hey, I'm bad, and I'm going to take over this area of Middle Earth." And the men of Westerness, the Númenóreans, of which Aragorn is a descendant of a descendant, they basically beat up Sauron and grab him and take him prisoner back to their island fortress of Númenor, and they put him on his knees and say, "You bad boy." And he comes up and he says, "Okay, I promise I won't be bad anymore." But he's Sauron the Deceiver. So he basically just becomes a sort of spy or traitor inside the royal house of the Númenóreans. And he gets people to think that he's like really a nice guy, and he gives them all these gifts. And
but they still know that his name is Sauron the Deceiver?
No, they call him, well, yeah, some of them do, but he goes by Anatar at that point. But they also think that he has repented. Yeah. So we're going to see Sauron. We're going to see Sauron.
The Deceiver.
Sorry, we're laughing.
Yeah,
we're laughing because it reminds us of one of the greatest lines in the fantastic film Bumblebee, when John Cena's character is yelling at the army for trusting the group called the Decepticons. He's like, "Is anyone not that they're called the Decepticons?
They call themselves Decepticons. It's in their name."
Which, by the way, everyone should watch Bumblebee. It's still it's ET, but with a transforming robot.
Right. So I think this is like you think of the Transformers franchise. Bumblebee stands alone as a fantastic movie.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yes.
So I think that's what's going to make. I mean, we all watched the Titanic movie, right? We knew the thing freaking crashes, right? And we all know that Sauron is freaking Sauron.
Yes.
Darth Vader is like, okay, yeah, a little Anakin Skywalker. It makes it even worse, right? So I think they have declared that the Amazon series is going to be 5 seasons, and then it's going to end. And I think there's 8 episodes in the first season. And I don't know how long they're going to drag out the Second Age. So are we going to get to the point where Sauron has crafted the One Ring? I darn hope so. And revealed himself as truly Sauron, the most wicked and evil. I think so. But we've got some more seasons to get there. In the beginning, he's just going to be like we're going to see it. Viewers are going to be like, that guy's up to no good. But
don't trust him.
For sure. Yeah. His name is Sauron the Deceiver. That's good. I'm holding that one.
So, is the beginning of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, that big battle, is that officially the end of the Second Age, or are we already in the Third Age by that fight?
That's right. That's the end of the Second Age. The last alliance of elves and men, when Isildur cuts off the ring off of Sauron's finger and takes it for himself. Isildur is a man of Númenor whose father is going. We actually do see Isildur and his father in Elendil in the Amazon show. So we're already going to be getting some of these characters that were hinted at in the prologue or in the Third Age. Elves live forever. We all know that. You probably remember like Aragorn. There was this one moment in the movies when Aragorn had like a little chit chat with Éowyn, and she goes, "You can't be 80."
Her fat soup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, her disgusting soup. Yeah. So he actually is an old
cut. It wasn't in the theatrical.
That's right. And Aragorn has the blood of Númenor, which is long life, not immortal, but like 150 to 300 years is fairly common for the humans in the Amazon series. So we're going to be able to see some of these characters in the Amazon thing like drag out potentially for more than one season. I hope everybody gets kind of killed off, because there's a lot of characters and they all basically die because Middle Earth is just one great tragedy after another. Even in the end, when the ring was thrown into the pit, it's still kind of a tragedy.
Are we going to see dragons?
Sure. Yeah. The dragons they work for Morgoth. And when he got his butt kicked at the end of the first age. The dragons kind of went off and hid a bit. Sauron, they do end up working for Sauron in some ways. Sauron has a variety of baddies that he all kind of just peeled off of Morgoth's team when Morgoth got his butt kicked. I think I don't see why we won't see dragons, but I know that we're going to see Balrogs. There was a reveal at San Diego Comic-Con.
At the trailer, it ends, yeah.
Yeah, showing a Balrog. There are multiple Balrogs. The Balrog that smited Gandalf in the Mines of Moria is one of many. That one has got a name. The rest of them don't have names. So we might see that particular Balrog. We might see different Balrogs for sure.
Okay. I did notice, like, I guess that's specifically how the Balrog is described in the book, because it looks like it's taken right from the Peter Jackson one.
Yeah, I've been a huge Tolkien fan before Peter Jackson came out, and I'm a huge Peter Jackson movies fan. I expect that I'll be a very, very big Amazon fan. I have always felt that the reason, and there are big differences between the Jackson movies. We're leaving the Hobbit series out of this conversation completely.
Smart.
In case that was inferred, but we're just going to be explicit about it.
You know that somewhere out there is a good 3.5-hour cut of all 3 Hobbit
Yeah,
movies.
I watch it. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Is it? Also, you watched that cut?
Yeah, they made a pretty good movie out of 3 terrible movies. So congratulations, to that editor. Yeah. But I think that what I liked most about the Jackson about Tolkien even, is that I always felt like Tolkien is simply describing what actually happened in this world, and he's using his little devices. Oftentimes he pretends like he's writing from the perspective of a hobbit or from somebody else. He uses his own little devices to kind of imagine himself documenting a story of a history that happened. And I think Peter Jackson, I feel like he did the same thing. He's retelling a story of something that actually happened. Like, if the 4 of us want to tell the story about the last time I was in the show, we're all going to have different perspectives on it. And some of us are going to be closer to the truth, and some of us are going to be further away from the truth. But but together, there's going to be one cohesive story.
Right.
And so I think that's what I'm looking forward to the Amazon folks doing, is they're going to be telling another version of these stories that Tolkien has previously told. I'm okay if they change things, because that's the nature of storytelling, is
Right.
when things change. As long as the story itself is good and the morals and the arcs are all still the same, I'm pretty excited about that aspect of it.
Yeah, it reminds me of someone once asked Douglas Adams, like, this is right when they were starting to film the U.S. theatrical version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And they asked him, like, how do you feel about certain things being changed? And he had a lot of input in that script. And his attitude is like, there's never been the same version of this. He's like, the radio drama is different from the novel, which is different than the beat. And he was involved in all of them. And it's not like the studios made changes. Like, he was actively involved in almost every version of Hitchhiker, and it's never the same story. I mean, the core's there, but it goes off on different tangents and stuff.
Yeah. I think what's really fascinating about the Second Age is that there isn't the material that Amazon licensed from the Tolkien estate is, for most reports, it's exclusively 2 appendixes from the Lord of the Rings. So it's like 40 pages or something that they're going to make 5 seasons of TV out of. So it's really, I think there's a lot of opportunities. I actually was reading it, I read it a lot, but I was reading it last night as well. And there are some sections that are like, 8 or so sentences that you realize, oh, that's an entire season by itself, where it's like they're laying out a couple of Tolkien laying out a couple of dramatic points, and then he's like, on to the next, because he was always thinking to himself, I'm going to come back one day and write the actual story of Second Age. So it's just a lot of notes. So a lot of, if you start reading anything other than the Lord of the Rings, you'll discover there are just constant iterations and versions that he wrote over his whole life. I mean, he died with a pen in his hand practically, and his son lived to be a very old age, died just a handful of years ago, and his son's life work was making sense of his father's writings and trying to find best thread to tell these stories from his father's words.
Right. Yeah, I can see. I mean, I remember reading, if you find a script to Fellowship of the Ring, pretty much that entire scene from when they run from the Balrog to the fall of Gandalf.
Yeah.
There's a line in there just that says the Fellowship crosses the bridge across the Doom.
Yeah.
Like that entire sequence is one line in the script.
Right. And that scene of him on the bridge is one of the best scenes in all of movie history. So it's like, aren't we glad that Peter Jackson like extrapolated a huge amount of screen time essentially from such a small bit of information? And I think that's why a lot of people just respect the Peter Jackson and his team, their work, because they just did a really good job. And I don't, the proof's gonna be in the pudding when we watch season 1, episode 1, if this is going to be a similar caliber of essentially filmmaking,
Right. And we must also never forget that without Fran Walsh, the Lord of the Rings movies would not be that good.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a team. Yeah, the Jackson team is a team for sure.
Fran Walsh curtails the worst of her husband's filmmaking habits. I love Peter Jackson, but he's got she's the one that is like, what if we did this? And let's work on that. And so there's also why the Nazgul sound the way they do.
Yeah. God, that's a terrible sound.
Fran Walsh was able to do this scream that no one else could do. Yeah. He was like, Fran, do the scream. That's a horrible Peter Jackson voice. But yeah, she did this scream. That's the basis for the Nazgul shriek.
Yeah. So they're filming in New Zealand. They started filming before the pandemic, and then they locked down in New Zealand and kept filming. They're using Weta Workshop, the same practical and 3D special effects that the Jackson team used. Some of the main art directors that were involved in the Jackson series are employed by the Amazon crew. So we expect the look and feel to be very much out of the Jackson team did a really good job, I think, bringing what pretty much everybody had in mind when they were reading the books into the screen. I'm looking forward to seeing Amazon do a very similar job with it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely jazzed to see it because any fun fantasy I'm going to be down for and stuff. So, but I'm curious to see what they're going to do with it.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I thought I heard something weird there for a minute. Okay. Yes. No, I'm pumped. So that's September, right? First week of September, I think.
Yep, Friday. Now, is that going to be Thursday at 11:59 p.m. or?
Yes. I'm no longer doing that. I did that with a couple episodes of Strange New Worlds, and I was like, I don't remember any of it. I just got to watch it again the next day.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it again and again and again. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I'm jazzed. Thanks for popping on the show too.
Yep. I'm really excited, and I'd love to, invite me back at any time and we'll talk about the show, and hope everybody watches it. Hope everybody has a great opinion, and we can all talk about it.
I'm sure there will be plenty of level-headed opinions on the internet when it comes out,
and no hot takes whatsoever.
Yes, there will be no controversy at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm here for the show.
Well, yeah, cool, man. Thanks for popping in. I think that's good for this week, right?
That feels like a show to me.
Yeah, for our inaugural debut at the Guardian Games Studios, which is pretty cool to say. We'll keep working out the wrinkles in this.
We didn't do the coming to you live.
Oh, well, let's do it next time when we have more things figured out, which I completely put on myself.
Sorry, that was me.
Oh my God, you're the worst.
Next week, we will come to you live. With that, actually,
you should talk about who our guest is.
Yeah, oh my God, we have to have it a little bit tight. No offense, Nat. Not that you're not an amazing guest. Next week, we're going to have, assuming he is recovered from COVID, he just posted his positive. He dodged it until Gen Con. But I do believe we are going to have on Mr. B. Dave Walters, who is a television writer, but he is probably most known for being an amazing storyteller and dungeon master. He does stuff with Wizards of the Coast. I do believe for many years he ran LA by Night, the ongoing Vampire the Masquerade streaming game. All around, very cool guy, really great dungeon master, really good player. I discovered him through my obsession with the Black Dice Society because it's the Ravenloft, official Ravenloft stream of Wizards of the Coast. So, of course, I got onto that one. So, yeah, I'm super pumped to have B-Dave on. If you're curious about him, some of the quickest ways to learn about some of the stuff he does is just go to the Wizards of the Coast page and watch some of their Legends of the Multiverse, which is their Spelljammer series. He's both a DM and a player on that. And it's some of these shorter ones. Some of the stuff he does is like critical hit, like it's hours and hours and hours.
Sure.
Legends of the Multiverse is a little bit smaller, like 1 hour increments, so it's a bit easier to jump in on that one. Yeah, he plays a Githyanki pirate captain in that when he's not the DM.
All right.
Which is pretty cool. It also has a Mind Flayer. The antagonist is a Mind Flayer gunslinger who is 100% based on Cad Bane.
On who?
Cad Bane.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Outfit, everything. Yeah. So we're gonna have him on next week. Hopefully he will be recovered enough from COVID to join us. I will double check in a couple days. But yeah. That'll be next week.
Dope.
Nice. Well, with that, I'm Aaron Duran.
I'm Bainarita.
And I am Cable Hashitani.
And we will talk to everybody next week, live from the Guardian Game Studios. Woo! All right. We'll see everybody next week.
Bye.